And now, the time has come to play baseball.
One of the great cathedrals of Major League Baseball sits at the corner of West General Robinson and Federal Street. PNC Park, home of the Pittsburgh Pirates, opened in April 2001 after the team spent the previous 30 seasons down the road at Three Rivers Stadium. Ground broke for the ballpark in 1999, but the conceptualization of the field began years earlier in 1994 when the sale of the team went public. In 1996, Kevin McClatchy placed a bid to buy the Pirates, but Major League Baseball had one contingency. The Pirates must have their own ballpark. To keep the team in Pittsburgh, McClatchy worked hard with city officials to create plans for the then-called Forbes Field 2. It was around this time that Pittsburgh Steelers owner Dan Rooney announced the need for a new stadium to house his team. And so McClatchy and Rooney partnered with city and state officials to get plans approved for two new facilities set to open within the next few years. KDKA's Stacy Smith has more on the North Shore development projects.
When Mayor Sophie Masloff proposed a baseball-only park for the Pirates in 1991, she was roundly criticized. But over the next couple of years, the idea gained momentum, and as it did, the Steelers said they would need a new facility too. Once again, critics said team owners should put up the money. This time, it didn't take as long to begin building the new sports facilities, but the controversy over who would pay was more bitter. In 1997, voters rejected a regional sales tax. A year later, local officials lobbied in Harrisburg for a so-called Plan B that would have the state help pay the cost. But it was a tough fight in the legislature. A bill passed in the wee hours at the end of the legislative session in November of 1998 caused a furor because many lawmakers claimed they didn't realize what they were voting on. Governor Ridge refused to sign the bill, but he kept working on the issue. And in early 1999, after a threat from Kevin McClatchy to move the Pirates, the governor engineered and the legislature approved Plan C, a measure where the state would provide money for stadiums in Pittsburgh and in Philadelphia.
When it came to naming the new ballpark, fans urged Pirates and city officials to pay homage to Pirates great Roberto Clemente. But in 1998, PNC Bank Corporation bought the naming rights for $30 million over 20 years, and with that, PNC Park was born. To appease fans, the 6th Street Bridge neighboring PNC Park was shortly after renamed the Roberto Clemente Bridge with a statue of the legend tying the city and the ballpark together. PNC Bank has since extended its naming rights through 2031. PNC Park was unique. It was the first two-deck ballpark to be built in the United States in 5 decades. It was also the first stadium to feature an out-of-town scoreboard that had scores, base runners, outs, and innings for every game around the league. At the time, brick was used to build stadiums, but for PNC Park, limestone was shipped in from Minnesota. The raw steel used was fabricated in Fayette County by W&K Steel. There were 23 labor unions affiliated with the building of PNC Park, and they made a pact that they would not strike during the building process. PNC Park was built in 24 months, 3 months faster than any other modern ballpark at the time. But as KDKA's John Shumway tells us, this speedy ballpark was not built without its hardships.
The ink wasn't dry on the governor's signature when the battle for money turned to a battle against time on this corner of the North Shore. Within a couple of months, PNC Park's trademark panorama of the Golden Triangle was in view, and the final design made its debut. Almost 2,000 deep foundations were drilled and poured, all measured off home plate, which was located with the use of global positioning satellite equipment. We also that day found out the distance for a home run with a splash.
443.376 feet.
That's a long home run. As the countdown clock appeared in late June of '99, concrete columns started rising from the dirt. 6 months later, the first level concourse deck was in place, and it was time for steel.
And the good news is people are working here again in Pittsburgh.
And in Brownsville, where the large rotunda sections were fabricated to incredibly tight tolerances.
You're looking at 32 ton of steel within 1/8 of an inch.
A few weeks later, that steel was in place and being painted as the countdown clock read 412 days. 2 months later, it was the midway point.
The fact that we're not behind is what's really important.
But problems would arise in the design of the column joints.
It was pretty bad.
Steel erection fell a month behind schedule while the problems were corrected. Finally, just 7 months ago, PNC Park was topped off and the timeline back on track.
We just found a way by manipulating the schedule to bring it back on schedule.
Most critical in that schedule, getting the turf down. And on a beautiful but chilly morning in late October, it arrived.
We're finally going to get a ballpark that's very conducive to baseball.
Late December, snow covers the turf as winter winds buffet steelworkers erecting the scoreboard and laborers trying to install the seats. Inside heaters keep it bearable as the rush to get the luxury suites and club levels finished in just 100 days prompts some contractors to double up on shifts. 1 month later, the ballpark gets its name tag, but meeting a deadline now 60 days away prompts some work to go around the clock. Problems with a sinking sewer line delay work on Federal Street. With just a month ago, Federal Street is still a mess, but inside the ballpark is taking shape and optimism abounds.
Everybody feels comfortable that we're going to get there.
1 week now before the exhibition opener, and the boss is back from spring training.
They tell me it's going to get done, and they haven't let me down yet.
Then the final push. In every corner of the ballpark, it was detail work. Some details bigger than others, all culminating in the opening of the gates last weekend.
The first games played at the stadium were exhibition games on March 31st. Over 34,000 fans showed up for the first exhibition game as the Pirates faced off against pitcher Rick Reed, who gave up 2 runs in 4 innings. The Pirates started Jimmy Anderson, who allowed just 1 run over 6 innings. Terry Mulholland came in for relief and gave up a home run to Mike Piazza, who sparked a rally for the Mets, who go on to win that game by the score of 4-3. Leading up to opening day, statues of Clemente, Hannes Wagner, Bill Mazeroski, Willie Stargell surrounded the stadium. Stargell was a big supporter of the Pirates' new ballpark and was heavily involved in the building process. His statue was the last to be unveiled before opening day, but unfortunately, he was unable to make the ceremony. Pops passed away 2 days after the ceremony on opening day, April 9th, 2001.
It's a day of celebration, a brand new Bucco Park, where Pirates of the future hope to one day make their mark. There's great anticipation as the faithful fill the street, but on this day in Pittsburgh, the cheers are bittersweet. There stands a statue tall and proud astride the left field gate of a legendary Bucco who was fearsome at the plate. They gathered here to pay respects before the game began, where this monument of bronze takes the measure of the man. Willie Stargell was the leader of the lumber company, and he proclaimed to all the world that we are family. In the Pirates' darkest hour, he's the player I would choose. When his team was down and out, he would not let them lose. Down 3-1 to Baltimore, it seemed the Bucks were finished, but Pops put on a one-man show that time has not diminished. In 3 straight wins, he terrorized the pitchers on the mound. With stunning skill and force of will, he turned his team around. If there should be a place beyond where Bucco legends go, while fans and scribes recall their past heroics here below, he'll shake hands with Hannes Wagner, the Wainers, Lloyd and Paul, and of course the great Roberto, the bravest of them all. Rosie Rosewell will announce him. He'll know just what to say. Bob Prince will tell him, Pops, you know, you had 'em all the way. You've joined the Hall of Fame beyond, and you're a sight to see. So shake the hands of Pirates past, for we are family.
Opening day at PNC Park was a divisional matchup with the Cincinnati Reds. On the mound for the Pirates was righty Todd Ritchie, who threw the first official pitch at the new stadium. But things got off to a rocky start after Upper St. Clair native Sean Casey hit a 2-run blast over the right field wall to make it 2-0. It got worse for the Pirates as they were only able to score 2 runs, losing to the Reds 8-2 that day. The Bucks would win just 1 game in that 3-game series and finished 62-100 on the season.
Oh yeah, for 7 decades, Major League Baseball and its All-Star Power Act have traveled across the country Tonight, it is indeed Destination Pittsburgh, the city hosting the midsummer festivities, the ballpark, truly a classic. They come by land, the mass of humanity travel across the Clemente Bridge. They come by sea, there is a riverboat pilgrimage across the Allegheny. Just one goal in mind, get to the Steel City Shrine to celebrate America's pastime.
PNC Park has been host to several major events in the last quarter of a century. The Pirates hosted the Major League Baseball All-Star Game in July of 2006. Clemente was honored during that game with the Commissioner's Historic Achievement Award. David Ortiz and Ryan Howard hit home runs, and in the Allegheny River during the Home Run Derby.
To second. That's it. The Pittsburgh Pirates are on their way to St. Louis.
The first playoff game for the Pirates at PNC Park took place in October of 2013 when they hosted the Reds in a National League wild card game. The Pirates won and made the playoffs in the following 2 seasons. Outside of baseball, the first ever concert at the ballpark was Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band in August of 2003. And of course, the first song he sang was Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Names like Billy Joel, Elton John, the Rolling Stones, Ed Sheeran, Metallica, and many more have also graced the stage in the last 24 years. You may have also seen it on the big screen as well. The park's been featured in movies like She's Out of My League, Abduction, Jack Reacher, and Sweet Girl. PNC Park is a staple on Pittsburgh's north side. The views of downtown from the stands have helped the stadium get voted the best ballpark in America on multiple occasions. It's a throwback. It combines Pittsburgh's past with Pittsburgh's future. It offers something for everyone.
I know people have had great memories of watching baseball in Forbes Field and Three Rivers, and we've won 5 championships. But what this is about is giving the younger generation their ballpark to watch baseball for the next 50 years.